Well, hello everyone and welcome to the Darwin Incident Episode 4 reaction. This time, it's called One of a Kind. So last time, Charlie got attacked and his family. We had a fight scene. It was kind of crazy. There was some interesting animation. We liked it. And now Charlie has hunted down the kidnappers and is gonna talk to them, I guess? I'm curious what's gonna happen. Let's just get started. Ooh, they're gonna think he's kidnapped. There he is. I like the music. What an opening. I love this song. My god. Oh, he's gonna try to talk to them. Interesting. He's gonna kill him. No, he's gonna arrest them. He smelled them. It has to be. What's it gonna be? Huh. Or it's just a genius. Oh my god. He's like a superhero. It's kind of crazy. Is this part of... There's no way it can be part of their plan. They didn't anticipate for Charlie to show up. We don't know that, right? True, a bioblob throughout space and time. Huh? I was not expecting this. Oh my god, poor Minsu. I like Minsu. You just pretend to spit on her? What was that? Oh, they're framing Charlie for the murder? Why? What? Do they want him to be associated with the organization more? So the public will see him as like a figurehead or something. Oh my god. It's alright, there'll be the DNA of the other people will be in the car when they do an investigation. Holy, they actually got the jump on them. I would have sworn this was like a trap for them, for the police. Oh no! Can he break handcuffs, I wonder? What a shot. That can Charlie make him talk? Red Pill channel? Oh no. It is suspicious. Certainly strange he doesn't have human rights. I don't know by what judgment they would come to that. Aww. They tried to drown him? Oh my god. Yeah, of course. Or what anyone would do, not just animals. Ah, it's a terrible situation. It's sad. Well, he's not a human, right? Lucky one of the parents cared. Or like was empathetic toward Charlie. 10 years. Well, I guess it makes sense until he's like an adult, right? Or like close enough, right? I mean, so are all famous people, right? Yeah, rights are important, believe it or not. My goodness. Cute little mouse. The Supreme Court, I guess. It's crazy it hasn't happened yet in the last like 15 years. This villainous police guy, my goodness. Jesus. Oh boy, here he comes. I love it. Holy. Oh my god. Wow. It's over. Well, that was certainly an interesting episode. So after watching that, I actually paused for quite a bit and wrote a few notes because I wanted to think about things, which is interesting. You know, shows don't often do that. But just to start off, to get it out of the way, all the stuff that's like very quick to get through. Firstly, I was very surprised to find out that Charlie didn't literally sniff out the kidnappers, or the ALA, sorry, is probably the best way to put it, because they didn't really kidnap anyone. But he used his like superhuman body and mind to kind of do it, which is that he identified that, or he kind of figured out that they would need to go to a pharmacy because they wouldn't be able to go to a hospital because of their like kind of wanted status or their kind of like suspicious nature of their injuries and all that. So then he went to a pharmacy and then was able to identify them by their gait or the way they walk, I suppose is an easy way to say it. And then it chased them down for 30 kilometers and then like ended up finding them, or ended up like kind of confronting them, which is kind of crazy, you know? I knew that he was superhuman, obviously, like in terms of physical stuff, but I didn't realize just how smart he was, so it is interesting. And then there's like a whole other, you know, a few miscellaneous things. Like the first thing is that Max, quote unquote, the black guy who's in the ALA, it is interesting that we still don't really know anything about him, who he is at all. We obviously know, Min-Soo was in a war. We know this like surviving blonde-haired guy was in a war. He's like a military guy in the US. We don't know anything about Max, which is interesting. Obviously Max, I'm assuming, is not his real name, but yeah, and even the photo the FBI had was like very blurry and like, oh my god, like who is this guy? I know when I don't know if I included this in the edit, but I did suspect at some point that, oh my gosh, what if this is the doctor who created Charlie? Now, obviously, I know that he looks nothing like him. Like, obviously, this guy's black, and the guy who created him is white, just as, like, one thing. And the fact that the doctor would be, like, really old now, like, versus this guy. But I already had that crazy theory at the beginning that maybe the genetic experimentation would allow him to de-age himself, so maybe the aging's in a thing. Maybe it could also make him black? Probably not. I feel like that'd be very extreme for a story to kind of do, but I guess it's not impossible. So if that happens, I'm a genius, okay, if that gets revealed, but, you know, it's probably not. I figured he probably would have revealed himself by now. There'd be more hinting to it at this point than just me being randomly suspicious about it. So that's one thing. Who is Max? We have no idea, but I'm sure we'll find out by the end of this season, at least, if this is the whole show will be one season, which, you know, to be honest, I'm starting to think it won't be one season, purely because of another note that I have here, which is that Charlie's case seems to be going to the Supreme Court. Is kind of like the goal of this series, is what it seemed to be, or the goal of the mother, at least, which is that this show seems to be all about like human and animal rights and everything, and the veganism and what place the animals have in society in terms of like the regulations that we should have in terms of harming them and all that. And then we have Charlie, the human Z, who is a mix between human and animal and is like in a weird limbo place. And the whole show seems to be about this. So I could imagine like the final episode or final like chapter of the manga or something being like, oh, we're going to hear the verdict of the Supreme Court case against Charlie, and like not against him, but like against the US government suing for rights for like this human Z, who is both the middle ground of both humans and animals. And maybe the conclusion of the show will be like some balanced position on like what rights humans should have and animals should have, and like how like a rewriting of those rights or something. So I don't know, it could be interesting, but I feel like that's the direction of the story, which makes me feel like it's probably going to be a multiple season thing, or like a multiple, like obviously the manga will be like a very long manga, if it's not already over. I don't actually know. The only thing I know is that Kai Entertainment said that when he went to some manga website there were 33 chapters and there were more coming, but who knows if that manga website was accurate. But anyway, that's another miscellaneous note. And then my final miscellaneous note is about how the Charlie drowning scene, like almost drowning or whatever, that was so sad. I felt so bad for him. It's a scene I've seen like a million times before where like a quote unquote an animal, you know, like something who is like otherwise calm and collected and very like kind to you and everything, they kind of freak out because they have an instinctual response to something. Obviously in this case, the only difference is that like any human would have reacted the same way Charlie would have, but Charlie has the power, right? He has the capacity to hurt people more than any other human by far, which is what makes it scary for the people and understandable they'd be afraid, but at the same time makes it really feel bad for Charlie, you know, poor guy, you know, who's just suffering, 5 years old, poor little guy. So yeah, good scene. An overall good episode, I liked it. Now, the bulk of my notes, which also isn't that long either, so this will probably be a pretty short discussion, is about the human Z's rights. So it is interesting, like, does Charlie deserve rights? That is like the central kind of thing in this episode, which I think the show kind of assumes that you're probably meant to be on his side immediately, but it is an interesting question, right? Like, if there was like some alien that was brought down to Earth and they're like a human, or should they be given rights? Now, the answer to me is like, almost certainly, obviously. Like, it seems like a very, very obvious thing that he should, but it's also interesting. Now, at a fundamental level, there's like two things. There's like the fundamental level and then there's the practical level. At a fundamental level, he can easily pass as having the same level of consciousness, seemingly, as any other human. or at least that you could prove that any other human has, right? Like it would be very, I would say, probably dare say, be impossible to discern the difference between Charlie's level of consciousness and then a human's level or type of consciousness. Like, he seems to be very similar. The only difference would be the fact that he has exhibited a lack of complex emotions, in that we've seen him experience fear, which is that when he was afraid of being drowned, he was kind of afraid of that, and that's the one emotion we've seen him experience. But other than that, we haven't really seen him experience many emotions. But to be honest, emotions don't really matter that much. It's like a minor kind of thing. So, in all senses of everything we've seen so far, he seems to be very, very, if not identically comparable to a human consciousness. So that's the first thing. He can also communicate with people. He can form complex relationships with other people, and he can form like a complex like relationship and understanding and a willingness to work along with society at large, which is probably pretty important. He's also capable of and willing to conform to like abstract and complex legal like rules and all that set by society. And he can also do things like experience pain, like things like that. These are all like, put all of this together and you get like a human who is someone who is deserving of rights, like 100%, right? So at a fundamental level, Charlie is obviously deserving of rights, like any other human. And then at a more practical level, which is like if you discount the fact that, oh, maybe we can't prove that he's like got the same consciousness, and for some reason you value that as like a thing, like the inability to discern it, then at a more practical level, to exist, Charlie has to obey laws. And if he is treated with equality, then he could be beneficial to the people around him. There is a benefit to be had by having Charlie be part of human society and have that human like equality and all that. And he can contribute to society, and he can do things like pay taxes. And like, but at a practical level, it's like he could easily be a very good contributing member to society. Like there is, at both a fundamental level, there is definitely no reason he should be excluded from rights. And at a practical level, there is only benefits to providing him rights. Like, it is like, it is, he should have rights. It is interesting, though, at the same time. And like I said, my last note here was about what I said before about the emotions, which is that, like, we don't know if he has a capacity for empathy. I would say it's like up in the air, where he seems to be in all other regards human, but at the same time, have we seen him do anything empathetic? Like, we've seen him defend his parents, and we've seen him defend Lucy, but is it out of like empathy, or is it out of like, we don't, it's hard to understand someone who is like so much more powerful and so much more intelligent than you, right? But regardless, this doesn't make any dent in terms of the human rights thing, because the fundamental facts like trump all of this. So yes, obviously you should have human rights, but I don't know, I thought it was interesting. Now, more practically, on like a societal level of like, this isn't really to do with the rights, but like rather like Charlie's existence in society. The more interesting thing brings me to Attack on Titan. So Attack on Titan manga spoilers, guys. This is going to spoil, well, I guess not manga at this point, it's anime spoilers for the whole story. But Charlie is kind of, or this world is kind of similar in issue to the world of Attack on Titan when it comes to Eldians, where what do you do with a group of people who are too dangerous to exist around other people? And by no fault of their own. Like, if you're not familiar with Attack on Titan, there's people, like humans and normal, like humans or whatever, and like the Malians and all the other people around the world. And then there's Eldians, who are like humans, but the difference is that if they breathe in a certain gas, or if they get injected with a certain liquid, then they transform into giant human-eating titans that have no mind. They will eat humans because they enjoy it. That's the only thing they do. There is no reasoning with them. There is no communicating with them. That is what they become. You could be married to an Eldian for 50 years and have kids and have a whole family and that Eldian will love you till death. And then they'll like get a whiff of a gas from Zeke for like 2 seconds, and then they become a human-eating titan like that forever. And it's like, what do you do at this point? Like, how does society exist in such a case? Should they have the same rights as everyone else? And the obvious answer is that yes, they should have the same rights as everyone else, but the people around, like people in the society, need to be aware of this, of the existence of this, of the Eldians, and what they are capable of. And then the society needs to be structured in a way so that both Eldians and non-Eldians can exist, right, simultaneously in the society with the same rights, equal rights and everything. But society needs to be arranged so that this coexistence can happen with as peaceful an existence as possible, right? Like, you don't want like resentment to be built up between these two groups. You don't want like the Eldians being shoved into camps like they did in Attack on Titan, because it builds up like the resentment. You get people like Eren Yeager, right? I don't know, I'm going off a big tangent here, but basically, Attack on Titan is a very complicated case, but even in a case like that, Eldians should have rights, even if they can turn into monsters on a whim with no consent of their own, because society should be changed so that people can exist like that with rights, right? You don't deprive the rights, you change society so that these people can have rights, right? And a similar thing should happen to Charlie here. Charlie's an incredibly easy case compared to this because he's nowhere near as dangerous as a Titan or an Eldian or something like that. And he's only a single person, so he can be monitored, if need be. The state can watch him, it can be like a condition of his, like, I don't even know what it wouldn't be conditioned on rights because you want to do that, but whatever. I think we can accept that society can monitor him or whatever, all right? And then he can like consent to having like regular like check-ins, like monitoring his health and like his mental well-being and all that. Like you could have stuff like that. And society is already primed in this world to kind of be aware of the human Z and what he's capable of. But I mean, you could probably make it so that people are more aware of it, right? Like you can say that, Charlie, he's just like us. He's got the human-like experience. He has wants and needs, and he has people that love him and people he loves. But at the same time, he is dangerous. He is smarter than everyone, and he is also much more dangerous physically. But it's not that much more dangerous, He can bend metal, but I don't think he could destroy a city, So I don't know, I thought all of this was really interesting. Charlie, the human Z, should he have rights? Yes, obviously. But it's an interesting case. But that's all I have to say about the Darwin incident on episode 4. I'm excited for next episode. When it ended, I was like, oh my god, I can't believe it ended. It just went over so quickly. So yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time.